Yeah.
great to have you here on the show, Paul. It's a pleasure. I honestly, Paul, like I listened to a few of your interviews, and then I did a little bit of research. I don't know anyone, or at least no company on LinkedIn that is wearing pink underwear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is that stands out.
Yeah.
Probably. No, it's really really cool. So tell me, so you did this episode with Louis on Everyone Hates Marketers. That was
Yes.
brilliant. I haven't come across a lot of people who are that open and direct in the way that they talk and swear like you are. And that's refreshing. That is refreshing, I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I don't see the point in I don't see the point in talking unless you're going to talk like the truth. People that have these kind of personas of like work person, you know, and then sort of family person. It's all bollocks. Just be real, you know. And if you believe something, you say it. And it doesn't mean that, you know, I can't be in the room with somebody else that disagrees with me. You know, it's not like it's sort of my way or no way. But I'm happy to debate points of view with anyone really. But yeah, there's so much fucking like vanilla and bland in the world.
It's crazy.
It's bullshit,
What do you think?
especially in the world of marketing and advertising and brand and things.
Well, we'll talk about it. We'll, I mean, there's a lot. There's the crazy part I find, and I'd be curious to hear what you think, because you have a whole story that you shared on Everything Hates Marketers, is where you are in marketing and you know this thing sucks that you're about to ship copy or a campaign, but you just do it anyways.
A lot of people do, yeah. And I was doing that for a while. So when I set up Mellor and Smith, it was, you know, we just kind of took the check. You know, we just, we got to, I mean, I started the business with nothing. You know, we literally started with, £400. I mean, that's fuck all,
That's
really.
crazy.
And just sat in my underwear for like a year, in my flat. But yeah, and we, you know, you quickly kind of the pressures kind of come on, and you just go like, just fucking win this work, like just keep the client happy and ship it, whatever it is. And then I was doing that for a few years, and there comes a point where you're like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is not what I set out to do. So we made a real conscious decision, and conscious effort at that point to just like, right, who do we want to work with? Who's doing the kind of work we want to do? You know, who we're currently working with, and it meant that we got rid of like 75% of our clients.
Oh, I
at
remember that,
point.
yeah.
And then, yeah, it was like the business has gone really well. I mean, you know, touch wood. The business has gone really well from that moment. You know, just having a purity to the appetite. There's a pure, when a client works with us, they know that they're getting my advice. It's not veneer. It's not sugar coated. It's not what works best for me. It's what works best for them. And they may not want to hear it, or they may, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, but they know that I'm speaking, you know, from the heart.
And you said it, right? You said like after you did this for a couple of years, there was this point where you thought like, well, why the hell am I in this thing? Like, what's the point of me doing it where I actually can't ship what I want? I can't really do the creative campaigns that I want because they're against the rules. They're not politically correct. They're whatever they are. And you're like, well, what's the point of doing it?
Yeah. I mean, what the fuck is the point in doing something if you know that it's wrong? Like, I'm a creative man. You know, I want to make stuff that gets noticed, that moves people, that at the very least provokes a reaction. And obviously we want to provoke a positive reaction, you know, someone they remember it and they think, fuck me, that's good. But I hate the idea of being ignored. And brands all over the world are quite happy to be ignored. And that is like, what the hell are you doing? If you're just happy to be ignored, like what the hell are you in business for? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, isn't it the case, and I'd be curious what you think, if you get to a certain level, let's say you're making a certain amount of revenue, like it's good, it's safe. Like is that there's a part of that mentality, do you
Fuck
think?
safe, man. Safe is for like, that is bullshit. Do you think that Jeff Bezos, what's he like? I don't know, worth trillions, bazillions, gazillions, he's taking risks every day. I don't think that just because you're wealthy or you've grown a business to a point where it's comfortable that you should then suddenly just take your foot off the gas, and just kind of manage the status quo. That is, like, that's bullshit. I mean, that's just crazy. Why the hell would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. What are you getting out in the bed in the morning for?
Yeah. I mean, it's just a complacency, right?
Yeah, I've no time for it. If someone wants to do it, fine. But like, they're not my kind of person.
I'm going to read this because this is so good. This is probably your, like, just people read it, they know this is you. There's this page on your website that goes to your somebody who wants to book you, and then there's all this talks that you did, and then at the bottom there's a trailer or like a show reel as you call it. And I love this warning, and the copy at the bottom is beautiful. It says, "The following trailer may contain some fucking swearing. If offended, please contact your mom at nobodycares.com."
Yeah. And you know what? I love that line, and I didn't even write it. Max Cannon is the design director here at Mellor Smith. He wrote that, and I thought, you know what? He's a funny guy. Yeah, no one cares.
but it does. I have to say, a lot of the, like, I did research on your content, and it does provoke the reaction. It really, really, really does. Like, it tells me a lot about your personality, which is very uncommon. I mean, I see a lot of people who are like, you can't really know much about them unless you talk to them. And even then, you have a business persona or facade that they have. How did you end up in advertising?
By mistake. I mean, kind of. I mean, I studied design at university, and then when I left university, I just bummed around for 5 or 6 years. I mean, I was a nightmare. I really was. I would get the sack. I get fired all the time. I think I held down a job for 2 months. That was my record. And I just kind of bummed around. And I mean, some of those jobs were in advertising. Some of them weren't. Some of them were in agencies. I did all sorts of things. And as little as possible as well. I mean, it's not like I was looking for jobs. I was quite happy to not have a job. And then I sort of wound up after sort of 5 or 6 years living in the Alps as a ski bum. And then I was working in a bar that essentially just gave me access to free alcohol. I mean, that was the only reason I was working in a bar. And I met my now wife, who's an artist, but she just took one look at me and was like, if this is going to be, because I was quite keen on her at the time. She's like, if this is going to work, you need to it was a slap round the face. If this is going to work, you need to sort yourself out. So I went back to London and got a job and kept the job for a year. And I was so happy that I kept a job for a year. I was like, check me out. I was employed for a year without getting a sack. And then at the end of that year, I told the guy that he was a cock, because he was, and just left. And I was like, fuck you, I'm going to go set up my own agency. And then that's how we kind of started. And we were a bit half and half at the start. We were kind of a design agency and an ad agency. We weren't sort of out and out ad work, but over the years, I mean, it's been 11 and a half years now since I started it.
Wow.
And we're an out and out ad agency now. The design element, I mean, we do design work, but it's all through the lens of advertising and brand and getting you noticed and banging the drum and that kind of stuff, as opposed to sort of thoroughbred design projects.
So you would be doing the whole, like, ad campaign that would be anything from outdoors to print to digital to video right now.
Yeah. So it's a very it's a typically wanky term for our industry, but we're media agnostic, which means that in like layman's terms, that means we don't choose the media before we've found the idea. So like, you know, the idea comes first, everything revolves around that idea. And then whatever the idea is, the media channel will dictate where it's best placed. So if the idea is works best as a stunt, then we'll go and do a stunt. If the idea works best as a TV campaign, we'll do a TV campaign. If it works best as outdoor, you know, actually, you know, sort of 99 times out of 100, it's a mixture. That, you know, there's a media mix. It's never just one channel, and I think that's just the nature of the, you know, the world as it is today. No one just sort of uses or sort of experiences media, consumes media just through one channel. You know, you've got to touch people at various points. You know, yeah, exactly. And every campaign, every client, every problem is different. There's no one size fits all.
How do you, let's say if you have to do a stunt, maybe you haven't done those before, do you find people who maybe know how to set it up, or you just rely mostly on like your team and, hey, we're just going to figure this out?
Gut instinct, flying by the seat of our pants a lot of the time when it's stunts, because the best stunts, they're illegal. Let's be honest. You know, if it's legal, then someone's probably already done it. So boring. You need to be, yeah, it's boring. So the vast majority of our stunts are things that, you know, step over the line in terms of the legality of them. And then you just need to be prepared to bribe people, you know, so we bribe the officials who come and try and stop it, you know, but that's, you know, that's what it takes.
I get it. No, I get it. So you had this really, really interesting thought that when I heard it, I knew if you would agree to do this interview, I'm going to bring this up. You said, you talked about the creative process, and you said, you know, those agencies, they patent, or they have like this patented steps that if you follow these steps, you're going to get this like beautiful idea that's like $1 billion. And you're like, that's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
That was good. I mean, that was a great one.
Yes, but I mean, it's bullshit. I mean, the idea that you can be like, the creativity is some kind of like sausage machine that, you know, you kind of, you know, you churn the handle and, you know, out comes sausages, but they're like amazing, you know, £1 million idea sausages. That's nuts. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, no, the thing is that agencies do that because they think that that's what clients want. And, you know, maybe some clients do, but actually what's a client buying? They're buying the answer to a problem. They're not buying the process or the solution. Now, some clients, maybe that makes them sort of feel a bit more comforted in that, but actually, you know, really deep down, what is someone buying? They're buying the answer to a problem. And that doesn't manifest itself in, some bullshit process that they then trademark. Like it's like something unique. Really good people, really good people, like proper A game players in a room together with a client that's got appetite and ambition. Those are the ingredients to the best work, not some bullshit process that can fit on a PowerPoint slide. And it's got a TM in a circle next to it. I mean, that's never going to work.
That's so true. I mean, it's just it's a fascinating mentality. I think it's a fascinating mentality from the agency perspective, but also from the people who buy into this thing. It really, really is. What about, I mean, I know there's so many different steps that you could consider in the creative process. Everybody has their own methodology. But if you were, let's say, a marketer or content creator, here's some of the high-level steps how you could begin, at least, or start to think about creative process, get an idea, maybe for your video, maybe for your blog post, maybe for your next campaign. What would be some of the steps or not steps or questions that you ask yourself?
They need to be, I mean, they need to be really clear about what it is they're trying to achieve. So I'm an absolute firm believer that everyone should know their part in the sort of the timeline of events. And the marketer, the client, whoever that may well be, needs to be really, really clear about what it is they're trying to achieve. And unfortunately, and this is a whole sort of another time, maybe we could do a whole podcast on this, but unfortunately, marketers, in-house now, there's a real dearth of talent. There's not a great deal of talent. The average sort of level of talent is really low. There's some brilliant marketers, but the average is really quite low. And there's a whole host of reasons for that. And I won't, but it's not like I'm hating on clients here.
But I've heard actually.
But what I mean is, sorry, just to answer your point, what it means is, if they understand exactly what it is that they're trying to achieve, they're crystal clear of how this fits within their marketing strategy, from the point of view of the client, then we can write a brief. And if you can write a brief, then people like us can make stuff that will move people, that will get you noticed, that will ram home that advantage and achieve that aim, whatever it is. If the brief is shit, then the creative will be shit. If there isn't a clarity in what they're trying to achieve, then the brief will be shit. So it all starts with that clarity of what it is that the end game is. And if we have that, then you can create work that will move people and will achieve that aim. But 100%.
I mean, I was just going to say that probably there is something to do with when you said there are a lot of marketers that are not very good. I've heard that a lot of marketers who are really good, they are not marketers. They never studied marketing. They come from odd backgrounds. There's probably got to be a reason for that.
Well, I think there's a whole host of, and I don't want this to just be a moan, because I actually have a lot of time, a lot of empathy for marketers that are in-house. It's a very, very difficult job. There's a lot of things that go on that agencies don't ever see. There's a lot of internal politics. There's the fight to be recognized within, the marketing department, to be recognized and given budget so they can actually achieve the things, to be given the credibility internally. It is a really difficult job. Now, I have no doubt. And it's not sunshines and rainbows. But I think one of the biggest reasons why there's a dearth of talent is because people aren't trained in marketing. If you think about the actual fundamentals of marketing, they haven't changed for 100 years from when it was invented.
Absolutely.
But if you go to a VP of marketing or a CMO now and ask them what the 4 Ps are, a lot of them are going to just look at you dumbfounded. What are the principles of marketing? And that's really sad. That real foundation, that absolutely rock solid understanding of what it is that what is good marketing, what actually is the function, in corporate life. And if we had more people that had that, then they would be much better at being razor sharp on what it is they're trying to achieve and how that fits within the business objectives on a broader scale. And then if they're razor sharp on that, then they can write a brief and they can give it to agencies. I'm not just saying give it to Mellor and Smith. I'm talking about like the industry as a whole. Anyway. And then agencies so the strategists, the creatives, the media guys, like they would all have a much better chance at actually achieving the best work, because there would be a really crystal clear aim. And that's kind of part of the, I think it's a really big component of the problem, is that lack of skill set. And it's because of a lack of education to the people that are coming in. I'm not saying that you have to be trained, like you have to have gone to college or university to study marketing, but that foundational knowledge, that, that real basics of understanding, like the fundamentals, just isn't there in a lot of cases.
I know you don't accept more than 1 page or over 1 page briefs. It has to be 1 page. If it's not 1 page, you don't work with those guys, which is a good criteria to have.
And we won't work on anything that is over a page, but we will talk to a client that's got more than that has a brief that's more than a page, as long as they want to work with us to whittle it down to a page. If they're brief, well, this 10-page brief cannot be changed, everything in there is absolutely vital, then they're not being crystal clear about what it is they're trying to achieve. And they're hiding behind and obfuscating behind complicated, and they're scared of simple. It's so difficult to get to simple. It's so much easier to complicate. You know, you've got to be so disciplined to get to simple. But if you're prepared to get to simple, you can create really, really good work. But yeah, we won't work on anything that's where the brief is over a page, but we'll work with somebody to turn their 10-pager into one page. And that happens a lot. You know, some people that, you know, if you don't write briefs for a living, you know, how can you write a killer brief? You know, it's an entirely understandable that someone may not, you know, really know how to nail that down. But yeah, we won't work on anything that's over a page. And that, you know, I think that's a good thing. More people should stand up for, like, what are the ingredients to good work? And that is one of them.
And I mean, it's a great criteria. I actually had a question around it, but we'll come back to the simplicity, because I think that's such an interesting concept. I'd like to understand more how you think about it. But let's say we have one-page brief. How then you're clear on what you need to execute? How do you come up? What's the creative process to find ideas that you would have? I mean, something that is like maybe like a step-by-step that you'd go through. I know it doesn't, or most of the time probably doesn't go in a linear fashion, but
no.
What would you be doing to say, hey, these are the types of ideas we generated that look good? What are some of the steps before that, or from the brief to then brainstorm?
You need to set out the strategy, and so that's a strategist setting out what it is that, you know, good is going to look like here. You know what it, you know, sort of decoding that brief, and then setting out the insight. And it may well be a number of pieces of insight that kind of that really land home what it is. You know, that's simple. You know, that real sort of, you know, Bill Bernbach used to talk about, you know, simple, timeless human truths. You know, that's like, it's the universal truths. Something that you land on. You go, fuck yes, that is it. You know, that is the thing that is gonna be the vehicle to getting a great piece of creative together. But that isn't the, you know, that's the insight. The ideas then come out of that insight, and the idea is the, you know, slapping, you know, it's slapping someone in the face. It's the impact and the persuade. You know, if you think about your impact, communicate, persuade. I think
where do you get the insight? Paul, where do you, I mean, I know you have a whole process around observing the customers where you'll be like hanging out for a few hours in the store, for example. For B2C, yeah. That's a great approach. Is that part of it?
Yeah. So it's hard. You know, finding insights are really hard. I think they're overcomplicated. A lot of people overcomplicate that search for the killer insight. Me, I like to go and hang out in, you know, if we're working with, like when we were working with IKEA, I just went and hang out in IKEA stores, and used to just kind of get some really funny looks and some dirty looks. You know, if I was just hanging around, eventually just be kind of like moved on by the staff. You know, if I'd been in the IKEA store for like 5 hours, they're like, mate, you're not even buying anything. Like, what are you doing? But, you know, or if it's like we're working with a, you know, like a car company hanging around in car showrooms. If it's you know, FMCG goods, then it's hanging around in the supermarket, you know, in the aisles of the supermarket, watching how people choose a particular product.
Do you talk to them?
Yeah, like, I mean, I talk to anyone. Yeah. I mean, I don't walk up to them and go, why did you choose that brand of orange juice and not that brand of orange juice? Because you're never going to get anything remotely useful. You know, like actually just talking to people and like just being bothered to try and find out what makes someone tick, what made them make that decision, but not going, why did you choose orange juice brand A over orange juice brand B? I mean, that's big, but you know, it's a lot of that. And then on the B2B side, because we work on both B2B and B2C, on the B2B side, it's hanging around in conferences or trade shows when trade shows were a thing before COVID.
Yeah.
But you know, it's hanging around with people in that industry and just talking to them. You know, if it's a conference, it's hanging around in the bar afterwards over a beer and just kind of talking and just kind of being a bit of a sponge, being really curious as to what makes people tick. And you know, and then also just being curious in everyday life. You know, if I take my kids to the play park, you know, I'll end up talking to somebody, you know, one of the other parents at the, not one of the kids, because that's a bit weird. But like, you know, one of the parents, you know, and I'm just curious to know what makes people, you know, kind of the human behavior, the psyche,
Yeah,
what
do
makes
what
them
they
tick, do what they do. And that you've either got that or you don't, I think. You either kind of are that kind of person or you're not. But all of that sort of sponge of stuff just goes in the brain, and is it useful, you know, the day after you've learnt it? Maybe not, but it'll be useful down the line. And that's kind of how I view it. So yeah, and that isn't sat behind a Mac, you know, looking on Google. That isn't, you're not going to find stuff out like that. You know, this is, if you want to make work that gets noticed and moves people and drives an action, then you have to get out and meet people and watch them and talk to them. You have to go on factory visits when you know, you have to go out to the store. You have to, you know, kind of go to the complaints department and find out why people are complaining. You know, like just be a fucking sponge, man. You know,
Get out of the building.
Yeah.
That is super clear. Yeah, and I think we are like definitely it's probably not done enough, especially not done enough to the depth of that you have. Like, I don't know how many agencies will be hanging out 5 hours in IKEA. That's a commitment.
Yeah,
really a commitment.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's probably, you would probably say that's like the number one resource where you have the insights, right? Do you, like, are there any other things you would be doing, considering that, hey, like Google might be the last place you'd be looking at, but are there any other things you would look at or places you'd look at to say, hey, like, we want to get a little bit more of that 360-degree look, or whatever you would call it, of that customer, of that client?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be room for research and kind of reports and data, you know, that real sort of hardcore kind of reporting and data and the real sort of science of that kind of stuff. We use of course we do use a little bit of that, but it's not the starting point, and it certainly isn't the bedrock. It's a supporting angle to, you know, what we do. I'm always dubious if the starting point of any project is, right, well, let's go and read these 10 reports. You're like, fuck, really? Okay. I just think that's not, you know, you're going to start with an agenda at that point. Why don't you just go out and talk to some people, go and observe them, you know, just go down the pub. I mean, one of the best places you can go is the pub. And the second best place you can go is get in a cab. You know, if you can get in a taxi on your way home from the pub, you are working. You know, that is how I view it. I mean, the amount of times that I've spoken to, I mean, in the UK they're called cabbies. I don't know if that's the same in. I've never really kind of thought about it whenever I'm in the US, but
right.
But yeah, you speak to a cabbie, and they're just a wealth of kind of just insight, just stuff. You know, these guys, they're such gregarious characters, and they meet people all day. They meet people from all walks of life, and the pub is exactly the same. Just go out and hang out and have a few beers and you know, well, I mean, I love drinking, so it doesn't take me much to decide that that's a good idea.
I like how the cab drivers always say, "Oh, if you're an Uber or a Lyft, or let's say Uber, like, oh yeah, I just do it part time." And they always have this crazy story of they have like other 4 jobs, and they have like their wife or the kids, and they probably immigrated from somewhere. That's usually what happens here in Canada or the US. They've got this massive story, like you're saying. It's like this is how like real folks hang out, especially if you do like the B2C work, right?
Yeah. If you're selling orange juice, you're selling it to, a cab driver, someone that drives a taxi. You are like, whether you think you are or not, you are. And then anyone that starts to talk about B2B being different to B2C is flat wrong. Yes, there are some nuanced differences. That the fact that it's you're spending somebody else's money, not your own, but you're still talking to people. You still got to convince a person, a human being, that has hopes, dreams, aspirations, like pain points, everything. You still have to talk to that person. It just so happens that they've got a suit on as opposed to, their sweats. You know what I mean? Like it's exactly the same.
I mean, the human needs are obviously, they don't change. And this was something that I was curious how do you change your process when you do B2C work and then you go to B2B client where maybe you don't have it's harder for you to observe them or talk to them sometimes, and from the inside perspective or even from the whole process perspective, what is different for you when you're working with B2B?
Nothing. I mean, honestly, nothing really. The differences are so small. The equivalent of hanging out in the supermarket is going to a conference and hanging out, or going to a trade show, or going to an awards dinner. It's exactly the same. And I definitely don't, if we start working with a client on the B2B side and they go, right, hey, we've got some customers that you can talk to. Yeah, okay, I'll talk to them. We can maybe set up a call or a meeting or something to kind of, why did you choose this customer? But really that's on the lower end of what you're going to learn, because that's just veneered. That's not truth. It's not pure. The purity is going to be going to a trade show and bumping into people, on the booths, at a trade show, or going to a conference, or going to an awards dinner and, just getting them pissed at the bar and just talking to them. You know what I mean? You're going to get way more gold out of that kind of situation. But yeah, to answer your question, there is no difference between the two. And anybody that says there is I think they're hiding behind complicated. That it's easier for them to make it complicated than it is to make it simple. And you've got to back yourself. And anybody that, look, the record speaks for itself, man. We produce some great work.
Right.
So, they can do what they want, but it's not going to beat the competition.
What do you think, or this was just something I was thinking about when you were saying, get into the simplicity, get into something like, get into the simple understanding of the campaign, get into simple understanding of the, what are you trying to do with marketing? What is it like? How do you do that? What do you need to consider? I mean, there's a lot of factors. There's company, there's different types of people with different backgrounds, but are there any things that are critical to get to simplicity, where people really get it wrong?
Yeah, smart people, man. I mean, honestly, it's easily kind of gleaned over. And if you get some smart people in the room, we're not talking quite good. I'm talking really top of their game people. You will get to some good stuff. You really will. And I know that sounds so basic. You're like, oh, hire good people, but people just hide behind complicated, processes, systems, bits of software, obfuscation. It's crap. Keep it really, really simple. And I would. The other thing that is a great indicator of complicated is when people staff an account with lots of people. If you've got a marketing organization that try to run a campaign and it's there are 10 people in the meeting, we're going to get to complicated really quickly because there's 10 people with 10 competing agendas, 10 personalities, 10 different opinions. No, get rid of 8 of those, 2 people, really smart, clear direction from the CMO from the top. This is what I want to achieve. Right. Okay. Now, why the hell do you need to deviate from that? And then on the agency side, small number of people. The amount of agencies that they think that they're servicing the client by staffing that account with crazy numbers of people. It's ridiculous. All they do, and then they all feel like they have to justify their position, and nobody will just shut up because they go, "That's pretty good. That's cool. Let's leave it like that." They don't do that because then they're like, "Why the hell's this guy on the team? He doesn't add anything." And actually, that person's probably the smartest because they've seen something good and they go, "I don't need to add anything to that." And it's all the stupid people that feel like they have to say something to be seen to be saying something, and they derail stuff. No, like less people, and make those smart people, clear direction, and you will produce really good work. But that doesn't make big profitable accounts. That's the point, isn't it? You know, these big network agencies, they love giving it like 50, 100 people on an account. Yeah, we'll service the client. We can charge them loads of money, and we can line Martin Sorrell's pockets. And that's crazy. You don't need any of that. You don't produce any better work. All you do is just charge the client loads of money. No, less people, make it smart, clear direction, and you'll produce really good work.
I was just going to say, it's back to two pizza teams basis, Uncle basis.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the Amazon model, isn't it? You know, if it takes more than two pizzas, the team's too big.
I honestly, I have not seen a lot of teams that do what you just described. I actually see a lot more 10 folks in the room, and then the moment somebody stops paying attention, they open the laptop, it's over. In the meeting.
Laptops should not be allowed in meetings. I mean, that's just like, what the hell? Why the hell do you need a laptop in a meeting? We're talking like, you know, if you're talking to your accountant, then maybe, you know, and you want to look at Excel, then maybe you need a laptop. Why the hell do you need a laptop in a meeting if you're talking about creative? I don't need it.
It's just back to that lack of focus, of course.
Yeah, like give me some pens and paper. That's all I need. And that's all the client should need. They should be able to write the brief down on one piece of A3 paper. I mean, you put it on A4, but then writing's a bit small. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you know, like I want to be able to pin it on the side of the wall. But yeah, A3 paper, a Sharpie, that's all you need. You can create some lovely work by keeping it really simple like that. And you don't need masses of people.
Paul, what do you think about, I was curious to hear your perspective. So content creation versus ad campaigns. I mean, there are two different things. You obviously need to be doing both, but I was just curious from what you're thinking. You know, let's say we take B2B brand. They've got to be creating some sort of content on a regular basis. Maybe they have some white papers, some webinars, something that is maybe a little bit, or maybe more engaging, like a podcast for their audience. How do you think about when you are going through the brief? Do you think about the other stuff they do on the content side, or are you just like, hey, this is our job, this is our metric, this is what we're trying to hit?
I mean, do they need to be doing content creation? I mean, that's quite a big step. I mean, I would say they don't have to be. I mean, I'm not saying that don't create content. What I'm saying is, if the starting point is our bottom of our funnel needs to be content based, then I think, you know, we've already picked up the hammer and we're looking for a nail to bang on the top of the head. You know, start with what you're trying to achieve. Now, once that's been established, there's a clear aim. We're trying to achieve, you know, X, Y, Z, whatever it is. Then the chances, fucking hell, it sounds like a wolf in the background. I don't know what the hell that is. Is that like that can't be a dog. That sounded like something ridiculous.
So we have this massively oversized dog.
See, that scared me, and I'm in London. You know,
it's the good thing is it's pretty far away, and I've got a small window part that opens. It's not like it doesn't open I can't open the whole window.
Yeah. No. So where was I? Sorry. Yeah. Talking about the funnel. So if you think about the marketing funnel, how you bring in customers. If you think about it on a B2B side, that bottom end of the funnel, it's going to be really performance led. It's going to be highly targeted, really performance led. Now, you know, that in B2B world, that probably is going to be something akin to LinkedIn, blogs, white papers, articles in trade press, podcasts, speaking slots at exhibitions or trade shows. You know, it's going to be probably going to be something around them. But if someone starts with, we need content creation, then I think they've already decided what the strategy is before they've even determined what the problem is. To answer your question, we primarily focus on the top of that funnel. So our sweet spot is the top of the funnel. Now we do get involved the further down the funnel you go, like by its very nature, you work on a campaign and it's going to come down the funnel, right? But our sweet spot is the top of the funnel. It's making impact. It's tickling someone. It's smashing them in the face. It's making them stop in their tracks. That's what's going to start a customer's, a potential customer's journey to buying your product, whether it's B2B or B2C. That is difficult. That's the most difficult part of the puzzle, is getting someone to stop in their tracks and remember you. It's ridiculously difficult. If you think about, and the research shows the research was done in the UK, but it's the same for all all urbanized areas. The average Londoner is subjected to 1,000 ads a day. 1,000 ads. I mean, that's a lot. Radio, TV, print, mobile, social media, everything, right? 1,000 ads. Of those 1,000 ads, 89% of them are immediately forgotten. 89%. Can you imagine if 89% of like an architect's buildings fell down? Like, they'd be chased out of town. Yet it's somehow accepted that that's an okay number in the ad game. That's ridiculous. So you've got to work really hard to get in the 4% that's remembered positively. I mean, 7% are remembered negative. I'd rather be in the 7 and people hate my guts than ignore me. But that shows you how difficult it is at the top. And so many brands concentrate on the mechanics of the bottom end of the funnel, making sure that people come down and they convert. And that's all well and good. I'm not saying it's not important, but that should not be your focus at the start. You should get that going, get it locked down. But then the minute you get it locked down, you should be straight up onto the top of the funnel, concentrating, putting all of your energies into how do I tell as many people as possible about what we stand for and what they can get from us, and why it's a good thing, what it says about them. Yet not enough brands do that. They concentrate on that low end of the funnel, and they probably say words like low-hanging fruit in meetings, which is like, fucking, I just want to punch you in the face if people start talking like that. That's like, there's got to be a lot of low-hanging fruit in the world, man, because so many people talk about it, and you're like, I don't ever see any low-hanging fruit.
It's such a bullshit. Like, I when I hear those words, I'm just like, your guard goes up, like, oh, it's easy. It's just going to be a micro test. Oh, we're just going to run this quick campaign. Like, I've never seen one. Like, I just haven't seen like you just push one button and then it just rolls in. Like, it just, I don't know. I feel like it just oversimplifying. Maybe oversimplification is not the right analogy here, but there's just like the completely delusional perspective.
Well, it's a lack of, I think it's a few things. It's a lack of respect to the principles and the function of marketing from other parts of the business. So if it's an accountant that go, no, we'll just do a little micro test run, because I don't want to put too much budget into it. You're like, fuck off. What? So I just do like half a P&L on your accounts just to see how good they are or not? No, you either believe in it or you don't. Like, it's really simple. Like, get your hands off. Like, have some respect for the craft and for the skill that goes into marketing. So I think it comes from a lack of respect from other parts of the business within a client. If they start talking like that, I'll just do a little horse test, a little micro test. The other one that, and I have a couple of stand-up rows. There's a really big client of ours. And when we first started working with them we were doing some campaigns, and we don't actually get involved in the media buy ourselves. We have media agency partners. So the media agency put a media plan together for this campaign. And then essentially like the numbers guy, and this is at one of the biggest companies in the world. They are, if you go on our website, you'll know who it is. Yeah. There's a few of them on there. The numbers guy, that's essentially the person that signed off the budget on a sizable media plan, was like, I'll just do some horse trading on the media plan. Maybe we'll buy a little bit less TV and a bit more outdoor. And you're like, get your fucking hands off this media plan. Like, no, what do you just think that you can make a media plan? So you've got no respect for the talent that it requires and the skill level that it's required to build a media plan. No, you don't. You just think it's a fucking horse trade. No, that's bullshit. And, you know, he didn't like being told that. I don't think anyone had ever really kind of said no to him. But, you know, like me and him have got a good relationship now. Like, you know, he understands that I don't like just say yes. You know, like he understands that he's going to get he's going to get my true, you know, he knows it's a purity to what I'm saying. There's a trust between us now. You know, I may not tell him what he wants to hear, but, you know, that's across the board. You know, have some respect for other people's talent and their craft and their skill and the function that they bring into a client. You know, if you think about all the different people, all the different stakeholders within a big client, you know, you've got all the different departments and all the different sort of the political life of, you know, the politics of corporate life. Hands off me, I know everything. I give them respect. You know, I don't tell the CFO how to put the P&L and the balance sheet together for their earnings call, do I? I don't tell them how to do that. So then why the hell are they telling me how to run the creative on an ad campaign?
Everyone has an opinion on marketing or advertising. Everyone. Why don't you just do this? Like, it makes sense. Like, it truly is fascinating. It really is.
Maybe they should come write the ads. No, fucking, I mean, mate, if you're going to, I mean, my answer to that is always, right, will you come in the studio and write the ads, mate? No, I mean, like, because invariably, if I'm pitching, you know, an idea to, big or small, that client, you know, we might have worked on that campaign for 6 weeks and they think that they've thought of something inside, you know, an hour's meeting that I haven't thought of. Now, it might be that there's something that I haven't considered, but to just assume that they can get their hands on my copy or my art direction or whatever it is, or my script, and start chopping and changing. No, you, like, get your fucking hands off, man. Like, that's not me being like protectionist. That's me being like, respect what I bring to the party, or what a creative does. It's not just me. Like, that's how that's how they should behave. Have some respect for yourself.
I remember I read this, I think it was David Ogilvy, but it wasn't on advertising. It was the other one where he talked about running the creative agency. And then he talked about the stories where he would argue with clients and clients would be like super convinced, no, this is how we should be going. And he's like, okay, well then do that. And then how it turned out, like the results were just completely gone.
Yeah. Look, I get it. It takes a long time to build trust with clients. You know, like they're putting their head on the chopping block by putting a campaign out there, you know, like, and ever more so now with the 24/7 nature of the media landscape and the news cycle and all these things. I get it. It's like there's a phrase in I don't know if you have it in the US, but in the UK, you've got to have a brass neck. You know, like you know what I mean. You got to like, yeah. You got to be prepared to. You got to have a thick skin. You got to be prepared for some comeback when you put stuff out. You know, when you go out to market. But like, you know, trust. You know, if you find an ad agency or you find an agency that you really trust, stick with them. Don't put it on review just because the CFO told you that they can save a few $1,000s by putting an account out to review. Trust the people that you've built a business with. Trust them. Give them the freedom to grow your business. You know, like, and that's a two-way street. If you do that to an agency, they will pay it back in spades. They will go above and beyond. They'll run through walls for you, and that's what we do. You know, we run through walls for clients, but it's a two-way street. You know, they got to trust us, we trust them. And you get way more bang for your buck. And unfortunately, that's what accountants don't understand. Accountants don't understand that if you trust someone, you get way more return on whatever the investment is, because the creatives will just fucking run through walls day and night. You know, you get a lot more midnight oil for your money. Whereas if you're penny pinching and putting out for review and sniping the whole time, you know, can we do this? Before this, can we cut this bit out? Whatever it is. you're just going to be like, you're just going to burn any appetite that the agency has. And you're like, oh, fucking hell. It's bollocks. I mean, what's the point? What is the hell is even the point?
Well, if it worked like that, then agencies probably wouldn't exist. There would be like a model where you go on the website, you just configure all the blocks, and then you just have a plan and you check out, and that's it. And you have the most economical plan at the lowest cost, and it's delivered by half people, half computers.
Yeah, and it's a cookie cutter. And it'll all be driven by machine learning and AI. There might be some blockchain in there, maybe like some VR as well. Like some, all of that cool shiny things that people know. What a load of horse shit.
Yeah, you can't create a Facebook style algorithm for all the mediums. Like it's unlikely to happen anytime soon.
Yeah. Creativity is the last legal advantage that a business has. That's the last legal advantage you can have over your competitors.
Paul, any last thoughts that you might leave our audience with? A couple of steps, being more creative, principles, things you need to read or should read or watch or do. Just want to give you a freedom of choice.
Like freedom of choice. Wow, that's like a proper choice, isn't it? In terms of the work, I'd say like fight really hard for clarity of what it is that a client wants to achieve, and if you're on the client side, fight really hard, put some fucking man hours in and think really hard about what it is you're trying to achieve, and try to give the agency as much room to breathe as they possibly can. Give them some time, and the agency, flip side, have some empathy with the client. They have a tough time. Like it's hard being in the marketing department in a big organization. Fight for the best work. It's so easy to just like kind of take the edges off or merge two ideas together. Just fucking fight really hard for the best idea. Give yourselves time to do that. The idea is everything. Like, honestly, like that is what transforms businesses. If they can invest in creativity where the idea comes out, and that will be like rocket fuel to a business. And it has been for years and years and years. Don't cut budgets. I know that's it's just like, turkeys voting for Christmas kind of thing, like don't cut budgets. Why the hell would you cut budgets? The last recession, the financial crash of 2009 proves, and there's lots of research, and actually Kantar did some, Brand X did some as well. But brands that continue to invest in their brand and their advertising and their marketing during the 2008-2009 crash grew 9 times quicker in the years after, the 10 years after the 2009 crash before COVID hit.
Because everyone dropped off, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the brands that didn't, and they continue to invest, they grew 9 times quicker. That is an inherent advantage just by spending the money that you were planning on spending anyway. Now I get it. Budgets become tighter. They're hard, but like, don't cut it off just because everyone else is. You have an immediate advantage if you continue to invest in your brand at that point. Just think about the commercial advantages that you can drive out of it. And the same will happen now. When COVID, when the lockdown sort of eases at some point, whatever that happens, and businesses becomes, whatever the normal is after that, right? Businesses that have continued to invest will grow quicker. So be one of those businesses. In terms of like how to get better ideas, how to create better work, be curious, read, fucking just be insatiable. Don't fucking read on a laptop. Like, read books, like paper. You know what I mean? Like old school.
Old school. I was just gonna say.
Like, don't read a Kindle. Take books. Write notes in them, scribbles. Like, just have a thirst, for learning stuff. Follow interesting people on social media. Don't just follow your mates. Don't just follow people that think the same things as you. Be prepared to be challenged. Get out there, go and meet people, go and talk to people. There's far too many people that are kind of like reclusive and just sit behind a computer. Get out there, go to the pub, be a pain in the arse. You know what I mean? Like, be difficult.
I love that.
Get the sack. Everyone should get the sack once in their life. Go to the pub at midday. I used to get the pub at midday all the time. That's one of the reasons why I used to get the sack, because I used to go at lunchtime, having done a morning's work or wherever I was, and then just not come back. And then
well, you did everything for the day.
Yeah. Just like go to the pub at midday. The people that you meet in the pub at midday are fantastic. They're so interesting. They're not the people that sat in an office. Just be different. Do everything you possibly can to do the opposite to everybody else. That difference is what is going to transform. If you're a creative on the agency side, it's going to transform your ability to create really good creative. And if you're a client, you're going to have such a bigger appreciation for what good looks like. You will know what good looks like, and you'll get there because you've got such a far wider, richer tapestry of inspiration that's going in, and you'll know, and you'll just instinctively know, and you'll be able to push so much harder by having a much wider diet of kind of inspiration and input into your decision making. I don't know, is that what you're after?
That's great. That's actually way more than, this is good, because I could have asked a more specific one and you would probably given me quite a narrower answer, but this is awesome. I think you just reiterated very nicely, stay hungry and foolish from Steve Jobs.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, so many people are so concerned about what other people think. Yeah, just make a fool of yourself.
It's hard, right? Like, it's hard to not think about that. Where you just go for the title, you go for the words or all of those things, and kind of like the actual quality of the work gets sidetracked.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not interested in chasing titles. If you're on the corporate side, I think if you're interested in getting to the top of a marketing organization, if you're on the client side, if you're interested in getting to the top, the best way, the quickest way, is to procure the best work. That will be like lightning to your career. If you're the person that is working with suppliers that put rocket fuel into your business, and if you're like a marketing manager, let's say, and you want to become a CMO, and you want to skip those steps, you want to get up there as quick as you possibly can. The best way you can do that, and the quickest way you can do that, is to produce the best work, and not the infighting and the politics and the kind of, if I stab this guy in the back, then I can move up, and throw this guy under the bus, then I'll move into their job. No, just produce the best work, and nobody else is doing that. And you will climb that ladder so much quicker.
Be so good others can't ignore you.
Yeah, 100%.
Paul, it was a pleasure. That was really, really fun. That was more than I expected. It was super fun to hang out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. It was really good fun, and anytime.